Hello, and welcome to episode 13 of the Millennium Pod, a Star Wars podcast by me, Ari, at ari.in.space on TikTok, and at millenniumpod_ on Twitter and Instagram. This week, I am once again by myself, and I wanted to do something a little bit different this week. So the backstory on how I decided what this week's episode was going to be about, I was scrolling TikTok one day and I came across a video from my good friend Camilla, who was on last week's episode. And she was talking about how, Star Wars is very sad and there's a lot of sad moments and a lot, it just hurts a lot of the time. And she was basically asking the question, so if it hurts so much, why do we keep coming back for more? And so I'm going to answer her question in podcast form this week. And truly, I think that the reason why myself and everyone continues to come back to Star Wars, even though it makes us sad, even though it makes us cry, is because at the heart of all the truly sad moments in Star Wars, there's something that connects them all and makes them beautiful. And that thing, for me at least, is hope. That is the overarching theme in all of Star Wars, and it can be found throughout all of Star Wars, even in those sad moments. So for this week's episode, I have decided to gather a collection of some of my favorite sad moments in Star Wars that I also think are very beautiful and very hopeful. And I was helped in this collection by several TikTok creators. I went live a few days ago on the app and we all just were, chatting, brainstorming some of our favorite sad moments, and some of those will be included here. So I'm going to tag them all in the description. I'm not going to say them all right now because let's be realistic, you're not going to remember their ads. So all of that information will be in the description. Be sure to check them out. They're all very cool people. All right, so I would like to start with Rogue One as sad yet beautiful. This is my second favorite Star Wars movie. Unless I want to feel things and be sad, then it is number one. But this movie has a plethora of sad yet beautiful moments. But let's just talk about it as a whole. I mean, obviously, it's so sad that literally everyone dies. I mean, to be honest, I wasn't that upset about Krennic dying. But other than him, it's very sad that everybody is gone by the end. However, I love it so much because I just think it's so powerful to see all these people from different walks of life, different backgrounds coming together for that same goal and a cause that is ultimately bigger than themselves. And ultimately they're the ones who are delivering this new hope to the galaxy. And I just think that their sacrifice was worth so much that it is sad, absolutely, but it's so much more than just a sad moment. And because especially when you think about, like, if it wasn't for their sacrifice, the Death Star would have never been able to be blown up in A New Hope, and then who knows what would have happened. I mean, we saw what happened to Alderaan. I'm sure more of that would have just kept coming. And it's also interesting because in the novelization of Rogue One, which I would highly, highly, highly recommend reading, you get to read through the events of Rogue One, but through the perspective kind of the various characters. It's all like told in the third person, but you get access to their thoughts in various chapters, which is really, really cool. And it's interesting because none of the characters, as they know they're going to die, right? None of them are like, oh man, regret. No, none of them regret it because they know that what they're doing has provided hope and ensured potentially an actually good future of the galaxy. So I just think that's so incredibly impactful, and that's like the heart of why I love this movie so much. It's just so good. The next moment I want to mention is Padmé's death. Her death is devastating to me, especially the cause of death, which if you've listened to episode 2 of my podcast. But cause aside, it's just so sad because she was such a strong woman. Like, I truly believe that if she would have been around for the rebellion, the Empire would not have lasted nearly as long as it did. But all that aside, there is a line that she says as she's dying, and I just think it's so beautiful. And this is when she says, "There is still good in him. I know there is still good." And then I don't think she actually finishes it. But obviously that's in reference to Anakin / Vader. And this line single-handedly gives the otherwise very dark Revenge of the Sith a hopeful ending, at least for me, because as the audience know that there's still hope and there's still light out there in the galaxy, even though everything sucks, and the characters might not necessarily know it, but we know it. And I love it, and I think that's so beautiful. And then the next moment is when Vader drops Palpatine down the reactor shaft in Return of the Jedi, and his suit / health is completely failing, and he asks Luke to help him take off his mask so we can look at him with his own eyes. And then Luke tells him, I'm gonna save you, and Vader, now Anakin, replies, "You already have." And I just love that, especially because if you think about it in the way that it's totally a fulfillment of Padme's final words. Like, she was right, there was still good in him, and just the way that all ties together is just so it's just so incredible. Especially the way, like, "I'm gonna save you, you already have," like, that's such a simple interaction, but it just shows that Vader, or Anakin I guess now, is just finally just at peace. And it's sad because, he's dying right after he finally reconciled with at least one of his kids. But it's just so beautiful to me. I don't know. The next moment I want to talk about is not about death, and I think it's the only one. So quick break here from the really upsetting stuff. But that is this scene at the end of The Mandalorian season 2, when Din takes off his mask and is crying a bit as Grogu's leaving with Luke. I know I'm not the only one who was up at 1:30 in the morning bawling their eyes out. But I just think this scene is so beautiful because it represents new beginnings, right? And with that comes, of course, hope. Every time there's a start of a new chapter or start of something new, there is hope because you're starting something new. So you're hoping it's going to be good. And I just love this. I do, of course, still hope that Din and Grogu will be reunited at some point. I'm sure they will be. But I do, as much as that their goodbye pained me, I also loved it. All right, so for the next one, a plot line that makes me really sad is just Qui-Gon's death. For a lot of reasons, the big one being I'm sad because I like Qui-Gon and I don't want him to be gone. But more so, I am sad for Obi-Wan because he lost his master and his closest companion at the time. There's this really beautiful quote from Qui-Gon in Master and Apprentice, which takes place about 8 years before The Phantom Menace. Highly recommend read, by the way. But it's a very beautiful quote, and I would like to share that with you right now. So it says, "It matters," Qui-Gon said quietly. "It matters which side we choose, even if there will never be more light than darkness, even if there can be no more joy in the galaxy than there is pain. For every action we undertake, for every word we speak, for every life we touch, it matters. I don't turn toward the light because it means someday I'll, quote, win some sort of cosmic game. I turn toward it because it is the light." I love that quote. Like, I get chills every time I read it. It's so beautiful. I mean, all of Qui-Gon's quotes are pretty good, but this one is just next level. Like, Claudia Gray just went all out on that one. But the reason I shared that with y'all is because after Qui-Gon's death, this is truly what Obi-Wan embodies. He really fulfills Qui-Gon's legacy, both in honoring his dying wish by training Anakin, but also in the way he acts. Like, he really, truly always does his best to follow the light, as Qui-Gon did, even after Qui-Gon is gone. And that's a bad sentence. Qui-Gon is gone. Anyhow, I just think, as much as, Qui-Gon's death was untimely and too soon, Obi-Wan just took it in stride. And again, that shows hope for people around Obi-Wan in Star Wars, for the audience watching. He didn't let it get to him, and in fact, he embodied Qui-Gon's legacy, and I just think that's so, so beautiful. How many times can I say beautiful in this podcast? Probably a lot more. Okay, so the next moment is the moment I cried the most in Star Wars, possibly ever. Maybe not. It's probably in my top 3 of, like, media moments making me just absolutely lose it and bawl, and that is, this is a season 4 Rebels spoiler, so you've been warned. I'll give you approximately 3 seconds to get out of here if you haven't seen Rebels and you don't want to be spoiled, if you miraculously haven't already been spoiled. Okay, this moment, the moment that has made me shed so many tears, was, of course, Kanan's death in Rebels. I remember I was watching Rebels. I started watching it around 11:30 p.m. the night before my birthday, and I started with like episode 8 or 9 of season 4, I can't remember, but at any rate, I got to the fated episode 10 at around 12:30, so technically it was my birthday already. And I just remember bawling and then looking at the time and realizing, and I was like, wow, this is a really great way to start a new year on this planet, just absolutely losing it over a character's death. So yeah, that was the start of my year this year, which is just really great. I hope, I got a lot of pain out, on the birthday, so that, we're clear now. But anyway, that's a big side note. But yes, this moment's really, really sad. However, it's also, once again, so impactful and so hopeful. Because, really, if Kanan hadn't sacrificed, the ghost crew probably wouldn't have gotten out of there alive, and if they were alive, they probably would have been, captured. So ultimately, it was a sacrifice to get them out of there, which ultimately would lead to continuing the rebellion and keeping it going. And so, yes, it's so sad, but it was, necessary, and Kanan knew that, right? And so that in itself makes it beautiful. Like, he knew what he had to do, and he had the strength to do it, even though, him and Hera had just had their moment. Oh my goodness, I'm gonna just tear up thinking about this. But that's how I just, don't just dissolve into a puddle of sadness every time I think about it, because it is a hopeful moment at the end. It really is. And so we gotta just accept it, that it is hopeful and it is beautiful, because like I said, he knew, and he still sacrificed because he cared so much about them. And the other thing that's really beautiful about Kanan's death is that Chopper stopped committing war crimes for about 5 minutes to comfort Hera. And so I think that is also a very beautiful outcome of that. So the second to last moment I want to talk about is Luke's death. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, Luke is in my top 3 favorite characters. However, I was not really fazed or that upset when he died. And it might be because I didn't care about him as much. He wasn't my favorite character when I first saw it, The Last Jedi, in theaters. But even still thinking about it, it doesn't really make me that sad. And I think that's because the only other character who really would have been sad was Leia. And she was kind of okay with it. She understood. And so therefore I'm not really sad because none of the characters are that sad. And so I'm not feeling empathy for them. And also, again, I mean, it is sad, obviously. A great hero is now gone. But again, it's just such a great, beautiful, and hopeful moment. Because, he basically, was the distraction so that the rebels could escape and keep, live to fight another day. And that's so important, right? And that is hope. Him going out there created hope for the rest of them. You know what? We are down in numbers. We've just been beaten pretty bad, but Luke Skywalker has shown up to save the day and give us time to escape. And so, I think they would have taken that and used that, to fuel them for the rest of their time, as rebels, or as the Resistance, I guess it's called in the sequels. And I also just really love that when Rey first goes to see Luke, and is like, you have to come back. And he's like, well, what do you want me to do? Stand out in front of the whole First Order with a laser sword? Which is exactly what he does. And I love that. It's a great moment. Yeah, I think it's one of the coolest moments in the sequels. A lot of people would disagree with me there, and that's totally fine. But I really enjoy it. And it doesn't make me that sad. It's a sad moment that doesn't make me that sad, so therefore I enjoy it more because I can enjoy the beauty of it without dealing with the pain. All right, and the last moment I want to talk about is, and there's so many more. There's not just this list is definitely not exhaustive. These are just the ones that I like the most, or feel the most impact for. But the last one I do want to talk about is Leia's death. And this, unlike Luke's death, it did make me very, very sad. And again, it kind of is mainly because I know how important Leia was to a lot of people and to the Resistance in general. And to the New Republic, and like Leia was such a public figure who did a lot of good, and so her death would have been felt by a lot of people, and it's sad. That being said, again, her death is beautiful and it is hopeful because she uses the last of her strength, right, to reach Ben, and that is what causes him to turn, which is just like super impactful and super powerful, and so the fact that she had the power and the strength to do that just kind of takes away some of the sadness for me, because again, it's like this was what she wanted, and so I just think that's so incredible. And again, it causes hope, right? It causes hope for Rey and for the rest of the resistance. Now that Ben has turned back to the light, they actually have a chance now. And I just think that's so beautiful. And the other side note on Leia's death is when we see Chewie finding out that she's gone, and really that's like, other than Lando, that's like the last of his homies, his pals, and we just see him break down, and that is just, oh, that's so sad. I was crying in the theater, but at the same time, seeing Chewie with all that emotion it's so beautiful. There's that word again, because it just shows like that he had a friendship, a relationship, whatever, with Leia that was worth something, and that was worth being sad about. It's like there's this quote from Winnie the Pooh. I don't know where exactly it's from, but it's credited to A.A. Milne, and it says something along the lines of like, how lucky I am to have something that makes saying goodbye so hard. And it's just like, that's exactly what's happening to Chewie right now. And I just think it's like all the memories would have come back, but it's like, it's so incredible that they had such a great friendship, that he would feel so much. And I don't know, I take comfort in knowing that he has all those great memories. But yeah, that was a really great addition to Leia's death scene for sure. It made it so much more impactful, and I loved it. So that's really all my big sad moments that I just love to hate to love. A quick aside, because I thought this was really funny. When we were in my live stream on TikTok and we were brainstorming the list, my friend Nick at Grandmaster Nick was saying, this is an honorable mention, by the way, but he was saying a sad yet beautiful moment is when R5's motivator blows in A New Hope. And I mean, technically, this does fit the criteria of sad yet hopeful. I mean, it's sad for R5, but it's hopeful for the rest of the galaxy, because then R2 ends up with the Skywalkers. But I just thought that was funny, and I wanted to share that because, I mean, technically it does fit the criteria of sad yet hopeful. So there it is. But anyway, that is all I had on my list today. So this is one of the shorter episodes. It's funny because my first few episodes were about this length, and I was like, oh man, they're so long. And then we started getting into those hour-long episodes with guests, and now I'm like, oh, this feels so short. But it's good to have variety. And that keeps my dad listening because he likes the short ones. But anyway, if you're still here listening to me babble on about, my experience with sad Star Wars, thank you. I so appreciate you. As always, please feel free to reach out to me on social media. I would love to hear from you. And I hope you're having a great day, night, morning, evening, whatever it is, wherever you are listening. And as always, may the Force be with you.